And like totally.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Oh, you're actually doing both. You're recording to the cloud and to the computer.
good.
Okay.
Better safe than sorry, considering this weird internet thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Rachel and I had conversation right before the call, and I asked if we can talk about that on the call. It is not related to money, but it is related to money.
Well, I think everything is related to money. I know it sounds really weird because it's how we show up in the world and what we're willing to receive for being us in the world. It's all all connected. So take it away, baby.
Yeah. Okay. So, Rach, you want to talk about it, or do you want me to talk about it? You thought you.
I know. Well, so I guess like one of the things that my mom and I started getting into this morning was, I feel like there was a sense that my mom was being a little insensitive to the issues going out in the world. The thing is, so I get it. There's no one right way to act. There's no one right way to be, but I think completely spiritually bypassing the issue is not the right way to go about it. And I feel like that's what you're doing.
But what do you mean by spiritually bypassing? What is that?
Like not acknowledging the...
Can you acknowledge in different ways though? Do different people have different ways of seeing and dealing with what they see?
Yes, but completely saying like...
That it is an interesting point of view?
Well, no, that's, I mean, yes, sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I would say, yes, I think everyone's dealing with it differently. There's no denying that. And I think everyone's kind of doing the best that they can given the circumstance. There's no one way to show up. There's no, like, it's not saying, you know, it's not like because you're being silent, you're wrong. Like, I think that's a lot of what's going on in the media is like, if you're silent, you're part of the problem.
Part of what the media is pushing is more, or at least what I've seen mostly in the media is the you know, the bleeding part rather than the leading part where you have, you know, people getting together and acknowledging that they're human beings on all sides, beneath the uniform, beneath the skin, beneath all of that. That doesn't seem to make the headlines. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the conflict. And media is always about the conflict.
Right. Well, and the thing is, there are also the other side of things where like the cops are posing for the photo ops to show that they're good cops. And then like right after the photo ops are done, that's when they become using brutal force.
Right. Yeah. And the brutal force, what if it's not about cops versus people or blacks against white? What if it's just individual choices?
What do you mean?
Well, this is actually really interesting, Helen, because something that came up also when I was listening to Dr. Dane speaking in his Facebook Live yesterday, it's this entire thing is about not being present with the person or with that situation or with a point of view. It's about lumping everybody into you're this or you're that category. You're a pig because you're a cop, or you're, you know, a thief and a murderer because you happen to have black skin, or you happen to be, you know, you're trying to Jew us down or whatever.
Because you're white.
Don't jip me. No, because you're Jewish, for example, you know, in something else. Don't you remember one time when we were in Italy, one of the things that was coming up, oh yeah, you Jews and money and all that kind of thing. There's so many things where we're not looking at the person that's in front of us. We're not seeing the beauty and the magnificence and the glory and the amazingness of that person. What we're looking at is like a label, a group, a preconceived notion, or as Raz calls it, an underlying assumption, rather than really looking at the beauty of what's there in that moment, that person, that you know, contribution to the world, that gift to the world, just by being them. And we miss out on that when we don't look at who's this person, not their story, not their, you know, file. For example, if it's a student and they have like a, dude, you know, it's not the whole background of them, but it's them in that specific moment. What is this? Who is this right now? What am I dealing with right now? That's what I love in the tools of access. The question, what is this? What can I do with it? Can I change it? Yes or no? It's being present with what is, not the whole fucking story. And a lot of what's going on in the media and in the infighting and things that I'm not much of a news watcher in general, but the things that I'm kind of picking up as I walk past Avi's computer, or I turn on something and I see the news, whether it's Apple or otherwise, you know, Yahoo. It's not about the individual. It's about this
constant conflict. Yeah, the conflict between the slavery and the slavers, between blacks and the white, between whites and Jews, between Germans and Jews, between Arabs and Jews.
Even ages of people. Oh, you're an old fucker. You know, what do you know? Or this is beyond.
Yeah,
you.
or you're too young. You don't understand anything.
Yeah.
So all of
But
those
it's not
are
honoring the person.
Yeah, it's a points of view. There is total disregard. I remember working with an amazing person when I was in college. I was working in a pharmacy. He had black skin. To me, there was no difference. But to him, there was a conversation, and I'm like, there was a remark he made, "Oh, you're just white, you don't get it." And I'm like, what do you mean? I just came to this country. I was oppressed being Jew. And now he's telling me that, and I'm like, wait, Tom, what's going on? He's like, oh, you whites always made us slaves. You always belittle us. I'm like, have I ever belittled you? He's like, no, but you're one of them. So that type of like the story that I'm again.
Exclusion. You're excluding yourself from them and them from you. There's no receiving whatsoever going on.
Yeah, that's why participating in that conflict is giving more fuel is not something that I desire in that moment. I prefer using the tools of access and being the interesting point of view that people choose to do that.
And even the tools of Akashic records, if you want to, I know this is an access class, but even using the forgiveness prayer, because to me, this is something I did in Spanish. I didn't do it in English, but I made a Facebook Live like 2 days ago or something like that. And I spoke in Spanish, but I mentioned in 2014, I went to a level 2-3 class in Mexico City. It was in July, something like that. And at the same time, or in June, I don't know. Anyway, at the same time, there were 3 teenage boys that were kidnapped in Israel. And it was 2014. There were 3 16-year-olds who were hitching for a ride back home from school. And they got into a car that had these people that were dressed up as religious Jews, except they weren't. They were Arabs, and they killed them within a few minutes of having them in the car. But nobody had found their bodies, and nobody knew. And this set off a war in 2014 in Israel, between Israel and Gaza. And it was interesting because before anyone found out, I perceived that they weren't alive. And I asked Gary, because every time I would go on the social media, I'd open my Facebook. I wouldn't even have to look for anything. You know, it was just there popping up in my notifications. Or I'd turn on, you know, my email and it goes to Yahoo and you see the news page, anything like that. It was all this, there were so many different jokes and derogatory things about, oh, those Jews. And it showed a big Ayatollah cat, you know, fishing 3 Jewish rats. It was just all this like hatred and separation, not looking at the human being that's there that may like video games and may really enjoy, I don't know, pizza and, you know, is laughing at really bad dad jokes or something. They're not looking at the human being. They're looking at this category of hatred. You can't hate a person. It's just not possible. You can only hate something that you dehumanize. Same thing happened in the Holocaust. So I asked Gary, how is it that this exists? And he said, because people choose what people choose. What you can do about it is anywhere and everywhere that you have contributed to that terrorism or to that hatred or to that separation in any way, shape, or form in any lifetime, you can destroy and uncreate that in you. And when you destroy and uncreate that in you, you allow that to begin to open up and change in other people's lives, right? So it can totally shift for other people if I'm willing to let go of a point of view. One of the things we learn in a bars class is that every time we use the clearing statement, every time we're willing to let go of a point of view, 350,000 other people are able to let go of that point of view. So if I'm willing to let go, not even what other people are doing, not even what I'm looking at the news, but if it is bringing some shit up in me, then I can say, okay, everywhere I've been that and done that, everywhere that I have contributed to having that in the world, I personally am willing to destroy and uncreate anywhere that I have been that or done that before.
Let's do that for us.
Okay, that sounds great.
So
Yeah.
everywhere where we contributed to any hate, any separation,
exclusion,
discrimination,
blame,
slavery, terrorism,
senseless hatred, and
hatred
fear-mongering,
and rage and riots and anything to do with violence, or anywhere where we separate ourselves from anyone or anything. Let's destroy and uncreate that. Revoke, recant, resent, reclaim, renounce, denounce. All of it utterly from any lifetime, timeline, space, dimension, and reality.
and
that only get the 9 short boys and beyond. And
all
the contract.
If we have ever implanted or explanted anyone with anger, rage, fury, hate, blame, shame, regret, guilt, anything that causes separation,
Perverted point of view.
Yep.
Let's destroy and uncreate that.
And revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate everything that holds that in place, that allows it to exist, or that allows us to receive payment for whatever creation that may have been in any life.
Right, and we get
Pop shorts, boys and beyonds.
And how many contracts, oaths, vows, fealties, communities, promises, judgments, and conclusion we have to keep all of that in place for eternity. And keep those implants and explants and imprints in totality. Let's revoke, recant, rescind, reclaim, renounce, denounce, destroy, and uncreate. All of it, utterly.
All of it. Times a billion, times a billion, times a billion, times a billion.
Right, and good bit but all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds.
Really interesting because, you know, in the book, Man's Search for Meaning, Dr. Viktor Frankl wrote specifically about how to be able to do things. How could the Nazis get away with doing what they did? Only when they would look at someone as less than human. My mother would tell me that the guards would yell, you know, to the dog, Mensch, telling the dog, you're a man, right?
Right.
Bite the dog, and he'd be pointing at a person. They were in striped uniforms with heads shaved and numbers tattooed so that they would no longer seem human. So what would it be like if we would expand our humanity and our willingness to see the beauty and the brilliance and the magnificence that that our humanity really is, and we could actually begin to have gratitude and allowance and respect, you know, honoring one another rather than all the infighting.
And everything doesn't allow that. Let's destroy and uncreate that.
Yes, please.
Right, and all 9 short boys and beyonds. And everywhere we are dehumanizing other people,
Yep.
And making them less than. Ooh. Let's destroy and uncreate that.
Yes, please.
Rachel, Rachel, are you with us or did you? Yeah.
She's there. I think she can hear. She's just not in front of the machine, the computer, phone, whatever.
So everywhere where we are dehumanizing people.
And ourselves.
And make the idea and the story more important. Let's destroy and uncreate that.
Yes.
How much did we, by buying the story or listening to the story, how much we're perpetuating all of those stories again and again and recreating it. Let's just
totally.
Because I remember the rise of 1984 when the cop killed another black guy. Were you here? Yeah.
1984, yeah, but I don't remember. That was the very beginning of
high school. It was in Los Angeles, because I remember
Rodney King. Was that Rodney King?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That I remember.
And it was similar situation. A cop killed a black guy. So there was a lot of riots, violent, peaceful. Did it create anything different?
No.
35 years later. No.
And it's the same thing.
Because the people hold on to the stories. Whites keeping hold to the stories of their story, that they have the right to kill blacks, and the blacks hold on to the story that they've been oppressed and killed by whites. That's not going anywhere because of the polarity of that. The only way to change it is to destroy both sides of it. There is no right
the positive and the negative polarity. Anything that's holding it in place. Any source points for the creation of the separation.
Oh shit, I just got something from the records. Hold on a second. Wow, it was all fueled by Ku Klux Klan is underlying, but it was actually fueled by the reptilians. So let's destroy them right now, all the reptilians. It's pretty much like demons. Go back to from whence you came.
You came, never to, and techies.
And techies,
go back from whence you came, never to
return to us, this reality ever again. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to us, this reality ever again. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to us, this reality ever again. Go back to from whence you came, never to return to us, or this reality ever again. Go back. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, bigger, more energy, kind of like, let's kill them on 9. All the reptilians, all the grand dragons, let's kill them on 9 and 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, all the hate monsters, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 14, 14, 15, 14, 15, 14, 14, 15, 14, 15, 5, 9, 11, 5, 9, 11, 5, 9, 11, 5, 9, 11, 5, 9, 11. And let's change tracks completely where the hate and racism and discrimination
and exclusion
and separation does not exist. On 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13,
oh my God.
13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13.
I just got something so cool. The 13, in Judaism, there's the 13 attributes of mercy, the 13 attributes of Hashem, which is what Moses invoked when he went down, or when he climbed back up after he had broken the tablets, when he saw the Israelites had the golden calf, and he was so mad and so livid and everything. And he begged for forgiveness for the people after he went back up, using the 13 attributes of mercy. So it changed track from destruction to another possibility with just those, it just.
Yeah. So let's create a different reality.
Exactly.
Completely different reality. Let's do it on 8, but no point of view of how it will look like.
17 and 18.
Let's do 17, 18 first. 17, 18, 17, 18, 17, 18, 17, 18, 17, 18, 19, 20, 19, 20, 19, 20, 19, 20. And on 8, let's create a different reality, different future. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You know what I was thinking? I know it's a paid class, but I'm getting this conversation need to be heard by more people.
Well, we can stop this recording and restart for the class after. But yes, the conversation is something that's very, very interesting for people. And one of the things that that I perceived when you were speaking before, Rachel, is that if we don't physically get out there and do something actionable, the way that, you know, like demonstrating or holding up a sign or being there with water bottles, etc. All those things are very interesting and can be a contribution depending on the energy the person's coming from. Underlying all of the actions, underlying all of the words are energies. What is the energy that's going to create a change here, that's going to be a contribution here? And for me, the being willing to look at where am I coming from, or what is my energy contributing, or perhaps contributing to flaming it up, or contributing to dissipating this and changing this, and recognizing that we can contribute in so many different ways is something that's really, really interesting for me. I was reading in the reference materials yesterday, and there was, I'll just cut some snippets out of it, but Raz, who is actually the very being that was being channeled in the How to Become Money workbook, which is what we're going through here, but he said, we must begin to acknowledge the magic we create. The magic may look very different than what we think is possible in this world. Okay, so our very ask creates magic. Our very being, our very energy creates a change if we're willing. Okay, so we must begin to acknowledge, not lessen it, not minimize it, but really acknowledge the magic we can create. It is what is going to change this world. And it is what we've been asking for billions of years. We've got to begin to allow and recognize and acknowledge what is for us. So first of all, recognize we're infinite beings. We have this capacity and we have this ability to be unlimited. And from that unlimited space, not reaction and resistance, not aligning and agreeing, but from that space, then from there we can contribute something entirely different. An unlimited being allows everything to occur in their lives, which means we allow currency to come, we allow abundance to come, and we allow the air to blow. We're not in resistance to anything because we are the light, we're the manifestation of oneness, we are the embodiment of what can be, and we are the invitation. When people come to talk to us, do they do it because we're cute? No, they come to us because we're there. We're that space. We are being. Recognize the being and acknowledge it. Okay. When we honor what is, when we honor that space, right? When we honor the beingness in front of us without judgment, whether it's ourselves or another person that we're in conversation with, or that we even see on the street, when we honor the beingness in front of us without judgment, we create consciousness. When we judge, and judgment is both ways, positive or negative. So there's the two polarities. When we judge, we alter our very DNA. When we project, oh, that's horrible, that's terrible, how could this be happening? We alter the RNA. When we expect, oh, this is going to be terrible, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, right? We alter the LNA. And when we reject, exclude, resist, we alter the nucleic programming. All of them then create a diminishment in physical form. And we're not just talking about our physical body, but this whole embodiment, everything on the planet. We create a diminishment in the physical form that keeps the limitations of reality as they are. What's the opposite of judgment, of expectations, of projection and rejection? It's gratitude and allowance. It's being aware that everything is included and nothing is judged, and then something else can show up. Recognize that anything that we use as a substitute for us, a sign, whatever, anything that we perceive as a mechanism that's supposed to do for us, limits us. We don't replace us with an instrument to create what we can do. We have unlimited capacity. Knowing created as a solidity creates density, mass, and limitation. Solidity meaning aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting is where we create that solidity. It's reality where we have pain and suffering because a body experiences pain and suffering. So we create ourselves as mortal beings when we suffer pain and reality of physical embodiment. When we buy the seriousness of our emotions, when we buy the seriousness of our feelings, when we buy the seriousness of our pain and debilitation, when we buy the seriousness of death, each and every one of those creates a reality of truth and limitation, but it is not we. When we, the infinite beings, move, we become intimate with ourselves, acknowledging our capacities with who we as beings are when we embrace and acknowledge the oneness and the wondrousness of us. And that's not just talking about, we're talking about all of us in general. When we as beings, when we embrace and acknowledge the oneness and the wondrousness of us, all of that falls away. The pain and the suffering goes away. The debilitation of the body and of this reality goes away. And the need to keep it alive or kill it goes away. And choice becomes the operative state of being. Choice, allowance, gratitude, intimacy, vulnerability, honor, trust. But it's that being willing to be that with us and being willing to be that with the individuals that we see in front of us, rather than seeing something as there is this movement. Everything is in such a shift and a flux right now in the whole world that when we're willing to give it that space and not add more judgments and more slings and arrows of, life or whatever else points of view directed at
and
it,
reactions.
Change.
And reactions, because a lot of things that what we are seeing are actual reactions to what happened. Yeah. Reactions to the stories, where instead of the action that can create more.
Yeah.
Because people don't stop and look at things and don't ask questions. What will create more in this situation?
Asking a question like, what else is available here? What else is possible? not just what else is possible, but maybe even having conversations in different places where people can see they don't have to act out or react to, you know, the first thought that pops into their head, like, where they don't have to keep going in a particular way just because they happen to have had a thought, a feeling, an emotion, or something else. They have a different choice. They have a space for a different possibility, and one of the greatest wedgies that we could be to this reality, to this world. One of the best ways that we could finish up with this particular world as we know it and the limitations is to ask questions.
Yeah, and what's interesting, just what came to me, because it's been happening over and over and over again, and people react in the same way.
Which keeps it going.
Which is the definition of insanity. When you do the same thing over and expect different results. There were riots in 1984. There were riots in Detroit. There were riots in New York. Did it change anything? No. So maybe it's time now for us to choose.
To approach it a different way.
Yeah, to choose.
Not necessarily with rioting.
Yeah, maybe honoring our own magical capacity to change the world by choosing something different for us, by choosing to step out of the conflict, by not aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting to whatever is going on in front of us, but just be aware of the situation and just see that for what it is and asking, what can I contribute here that will change all of this?
And also recognizing that none of us are better or worse than another. There is nothing that we haven't been or done. So if we see something that's pissing us the fuck off, how many lifetimes did we do that? And did we be that? And what decisions and judgments and conclusions and promises and projections and expectations did we make at any point to never allow that to happen again, or to never ever be part of that again? Because if we weren't in something like that, we wouldn't be having these reactions.
Yeah.
And considering how many times this pattern has repeated, then this has been ongoing, and we've been here before, we'll be here again. This has been ongoing
the 1960s.
Until we choose to let it go.
Yeah. And by saying it should never happen again, that's actually resistance and reaction that keeps it going also.
Yeah.
Just like anything that fuels the conflict, it's almost like pouring the oil on the fire. What if we stop pouring oil? The fire will die. When we stop resisting and reacting, remember the exercise when you push with your hands against something?
Mm-hmm.
And that something pushes you back? You're not moving. The force is, what is it? Action is equal and opposite reaction. That's a Newtonian law.
That's Newtonian physics. But in this reality,
right. That's what I'm saying.
Feel like they have to take to the streets and burn and act out their anger, their rage, their fury, their hate, their frustration, their misery, the lies that they've, been directed at them, or that they have even directed at themselves in many cases. I know we've got the money workbook in front of us. How many times do we hear even in that, oh, it's those people, oh, it's those rich people? There's exclusion and prejudice and judgment in that too, and that's a whole conversation we'll keep for the money workbook. But this is a fascinating thing. How much do we define ourselves by separation from something or someone else? How much are we not willing to receive the gift of a different possibility, of a different experience, of even the gift of a conversation with someone who's had a totally different life than we've had, by simply saying those people, and I'm not those people.
Mm-hmm.
How much beauty
Yeah.
are we resisting having? I watched an interesting movie with Avi last night, Wag the Dog. Know how to, it's from the 80s, I guess. When the president, the current president wanted to be elected again, rather than, you know, living up to, he happened to have sex with a little firefly girl or whatever they call the Girl Scouts in the movie. They created a fake war to draw attention to that, to divert attention, and it's fascinating how many diversions are we using to keep us away from being present with the gift of the people that just on a small scale, not even in marches, but just in every interaction. When we look in another person's eyes and see the person that's there, even in the grocery line, and smile at them and appreciate them and ask them a question, that builds them up where they're seen. No, it's not this, I'm going to stomp on you because you're one of those people.
Because the more we separate, the more we actually keep ourselves either separate or aligning and agreeing with different people. It's still separation because you're aligning yourself with certain group, but you're aligning against others. It's still separation.
That's why I love the title of the 7-day that unfortunately got canceled, the one that was supposed to be in New Zealand in May. It was the convergence of consciousness with unconsciousness and anti-consciousness. So what if the willingness to be that space of allowance, of consciousness, of awareness can literally begin to dissipate and to melt, to shift and transmute all of that anti-consciousness and unconsciousness? Because really, when you look at it, when you include planet Earth and you include the plants and the animals and the clouds and all the molecules around us, is there more consciousness or more unconsciousness and anti-consciousness?
It's consciousness. The whole planet is conscious.
So what would it take to raise the level of that more and more and more?
But actually looking at the evil in the world, the evil is the unconsciousness and anti-consciousness.
Exactly.
Because you cannot be evil unless you completely cut your awareness, unless you're completely unconscious, or even if you're aware and you're going against consciousness, that's the anti-consciousness. That's the only way to be evil. So the only way to change it is pretty much melt the unconsciousness and anti-consciousness and invite people to a different possibility instead of jumping into the conflict with them, into that unconsciousness and anti-consciousness. The more we stay in the allowance of what's going on, no matter what it is, no matter how horrific it is, the more it has a chance to change. The more we try to push our will, to push things the way we desire it to be, the world with no separation, the world with everything wonderful, the more the world will resist and react and create those things.
Yeah, it's not saying that we don't contribute or
no, it's not about not contributing. It's about being the question and asking, what action can I take at this moment that can change that? What can I be different to change all of this? What can create a greater reality? What can I as an individual choose in the next 10 seconds to create the energy that will melt all that evil in the world?
Or even not necessarily all that evil big time, like everywhere, but this little bit, because it's like another rock in the pond. It's going to create ripples and it's going to begin to change things. And when we're willing to see and to honor and to recognize the change that we can contribute to by embracing the greatness of what we are. Remember that thing that I was reading from Raz? We are so much greater. and have so much more capacity, being willing to be the question and the choice of something different, that we, being that space, that expansion, that, okay, this is going to change, not on my watch anymore. I don't have to march to make a difference. I can make a change in a totally different way by throwing these numbers, by asking these questions, by demanding something different, by even putting a question in social media that then begins to get batted around. I mean, look, Toyota has the motto of possibilities. What else is possible, or whatever that they were using in some of their advertisement. Eventually it begins to seep in. When we're not presenting like going against a wall, but we're willing to be that space that can go through, under, around, over, in between, breaking things apart, melting them and dissipating them, it is incredible. Actually, I won't say incredible, because then it's not credible. No, it is phenomenon. It's the willingness to see the magical difference, that miracle walking that we truly be. And being that can create much more than hours and hours and hours of marching, where we're solidifying exactly that thing that we're supposedly fighting against.
Because the more we fight, the more people have to fight against us. Yeah. There is no other way. If we stop fighting, if we be present with what's required here, instead of reacting, we would act. And the action might be just being with that and being the magic we are. And choosing to just melt with energy, with words, with whatever is required in the moment. But if we align and agree with something, or resist and react to something, that creates the walls where we cannot go beyond that, beyond that judgment, beyond that solidity. If we are in allowance, we are infinite. We can see what's behind that wall, what we can create more in maybe in that next 24 hours. Maybe, as Rachel said, just in a store, looking at somebody or calling somebody, calling somebody who is upset about whatever is going on, and just be there and listening to them with no point of view, a lot of it starts to dissipate.
Maybe having some talks in a community center, if that's allowed in the States now.
Or maybe Zooms in the Facebook.
Yeah, where people can begin to share something different, or Instagram, you know, where we can ask some different, or look at things from a different perspective than what's considered standard operating procedure, because that standard operating procedure just hasn't functioned.
Yeah,
so what else
it's insanity. So let's practice insanity of the cycles of violence, the cycles of violence begets violence, and more violence and more violence.
Because our words create.
Words create. The magic creates more. So let's frack it. 1, 2, 3. Frack, 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 frack. Frack all the insanity, and let's melt. Let's just expand. And as we expand with our own energy, with being ourselves, let's be that wave of love, gratitude, peace, and calm that will melt all the violence, all the separation, all the walls between people. And drop the barriers, all of them, all the points of view that you have, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad.
And that you're aware of from other people too.
Yeah, and let's return all those points of view that we're buying from them too. And just be that energy of gratitude for people waking up. Maybe that is the point where the world will change. Maybe that's a call for magic to be real.
And everywhere that we don't recognize or we doubt, our capacities or the capacity of question, of choice, of possibility, of contribution, of magic, of miracles, of actually being this energy that melts anywhere that we go into the head, and this doesn't make sense, and no, this can't be real, we're dimming it down and diminishing it.
Yeah.
So when
let's
we're
do a little SOP right now.
that's
let's all three of us, we all know SOP. So let's do SOP on the world.
Yep. Because you know, when you look at it from space, this whole beautiful, amazing blue-green marble that we look at from space, there are no lines, there are no demarcations, there are no separations, there are no borders. It's this beautiful playground of possibilities and beauty and amazingness.
Let's create the world with no separation. The world of joy and beauty.
And gratitude.
Gratitude, honoring each other, honoring ourselves. And being present with who and what we are. What if the unconditional love, the divine love, it is possibility for everyone? And what if violence is no longer required? What if evil no longer is a necessary evil? What if we can melt together consciousness, unconsciousness, and anti-consciousness?
What convergence could we be? What invitation and communion with the elementals, with all the molecules that are just these molecules of possibilities, the quantum entanglements, the elementals, all the beings of light and kindness and joy that would like
Let's invite all of the beauty, all of that joy is, and sexualness. What if being alive? What if being alive means totally different? What if alive actually means to be joyful? To be happy instead of
creative and
happy. So, or something that maybe somebody or something did or did not do. What if we can act instead of react and be the space that melts all the hate, all the rage, all the fury that can possibly exist that shouldn't exist? Because we're one.
Because people have chosen it.
Yeah.
If
But
we
are the
turn
oneness.
the molecules of what is allowing that to take place.
What if we don't have to separate? Because we are the molecules, we are the space, and we are that drop in the ocean, and we are the ocean.
So what if we can begin to turn, to let go of, and to shift, and to change all those points of views that are stuck, all those molecules that may still be stuck, turn them and move them and shift them and look at them from a different point of view and turn them and shift them and move them. It's a point of stuckness that we can keep moving and changing until it is no longer stuck, and it can begin, woo, something else can begin to show up in the world. And we don't even have to do it one molecule at a time. What if we did it?
Let's change the whole, yeah, all of them.
It's of thousands.
Whew.
Everything that's
Cool. Thanks.
right.
So should we stop the recording?
Thank you for this
Thank
conversation.
you.
It was
It's been amazing.
Really,
And
really
so let's stop the recording. We'll probably have to get out of the Zoom too. Okay, let's see.
No, I can stop it.